let everybody know that I've just pressed the record button.
Glad I got that story out of the way.
I'm glad you did. You're right. We have opened up the waiting room, and we're letting everybody come into our NTCA Region 10 Roundtable. And we're having some people join us right now. We've got a group of people in the waiting room. You're coming on in. Good to see everybody. You'll be muted as you come in. Please feel free to unmute yourself. You have that option to do that. It's your choice whether or not you want to turn on your camera, although we would love to see your face and have you join us in person. I see Jim Whitfield has joined us. Hi, Jim. Great to see you, sir. Sean Mitchum is there. Hello, Sean. Welcome for coming in. Glad to have you. Welcome. Thanks for being here. We still have other people joining us, so we're just going to have these people come on in. And I'm actually going to turn the waiting room off. As you come in, please feel free to just go ahead and join us, and we'll start here. Today, like I mentioned, this is the NTCA's Region 10 Technical or Business Roundtable. We discuss a lot of things at these. And I am Mark Heinlein. I'm NTCA's Director of Training, and I'm the organizer for today's meeting. I'd like to introduce you to my counterparts. I'll start with the one and only, thank goodness, Randy Fleming. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Fairly new with NTCA. Got a few scars already from them, so it's not too bad. So glad to be here. Glad everybody could make it.
I think those scars were from Rob, probably. Rob Roderick, thanks, Randy. Rob Roderick, thankfully you're here, Rob. A wealth of wisdom and a TV star with the NTCA, right?
Yeah, they've got me shooting videos and writing articles. Yeah, I think I met most of you guys, but I'm in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm a technical trainer. I've been working with the NTCA for 4.5 years. I've only been in the business for 30 years, so I'm just getting started. I'm not 40 like Randy. So, but I'm glad you guys are spending this part of your day with us. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have to say. So that's all I'll say.
Terrific. Thanks, Rob. We got a wealth of knowledge here in Rob and Randy. And I want to introduce our Region 10 Director, the one and only, an incredibly a great human being, Mr. Stan Platt. Stan is the owner and operator of Elite Tile Setters in Utah. Stan, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome our attendees and get our meeting rolling?
Yeah, hey, I'm glad everybody could come join today. I really hope we all have a purpose in coming, and that is to share and gather information to make what we do better, easier. So I'm hoping we can be real today and put it out there as far as what we're going through, what some things we've learned, some things we need to learn, where our strengths, weaknesses are, and be better at what we do. So for me, when I started working with or dealing with MTCA, it was myself and one other installer. Today, we have 40 employees, so it's a different world. And the NTCA is still invaluable as far as helping us learn and become better at what we do. So, and it's through things like this that we get better at it. So I wouldn't mind going around and just having everybody introduce themselves and say what you're here for and what you hope to get out of it, so we can make sure we touch on those points.
Terrific idea. How about I'll run us around the lap. I see our friend John Mourelatos. Hi, John. Looks like you're joining us from your work truck today. Please unmute yourself.
Yes,
how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Good to see everybody. I'm John Mourelatos. I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I'm also an ambassador with the NTCA, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to participate a whole lot. I'm going to try to listen as much as I can, but I'm in between jobs right now. But technically, you know, I'd like to participate in any issues that we have, such as technical issues. I have some problems that are related to distributors and manufacturers, and I believe we have some of those on the phone. And also, I'd just like to hear how everybody else is doing related to how business is right now.
Hey, John, thank you very much, but get specific with what your challenges are with distributors.
Really, product availability. So us, like yourself, Stan, I am just one. It's myself and my installers. So it's just the two of us. So we're not a very large company. We don't have product stock, let's say, at my shop or anything. So when I do a job, like for example, I just finished a kitchen backsplash. The grout, you know, is okay for availability. A lot of times I have to plan ahead and order it. But silicone, you know, manufacturers and industry standard is for us to use the proper material, but we don't have it available, or I have to buy a case of it. So a lot of times what I do, even for a small backsplash, is I have to select the grout color 3 weeks ahead of time, order the grout and the silicone so I can have it. And even then, a lot of times I have to buy a case of silicone. So I have, I don't know, 80 tubes of silicone in my laundry room on top of my cabinet. You know, I'm sure my wife loves that, but it's the reality.
Absolutely. I'm wondering if
So me as a professional, that's the challenge I have, is availability. Yet, you know, a homeowner can go into a Floor & Decor and get what they need, you know, better than I can, really. So that's just an example.
Okay.
All right,
you.
Stan, do you want to see if one of our manufacturing representatives or distribution representatives can respond to John's question?
Yeah, who do we have on here that's manufacturing representative?
I see we have a few. We have Jim Whitfield. Hi, John Jarnigan. I see you. Jeff Walker. I see you, sir.
I'll
Great
comment on it quickly. You know, I by the way, I turned my video off because I got kicked off, and I wasn't sure if it was a broadband width, so I just kind of kicked that off. But okay. I can't help it. I mean, I know we reduced on our silicone our case size to 4. You know, and making it a little bit more viable for distributors to carry it. And but other than that, I really don't have a great answer. We're not into shipping a tube, and nor are they to receiving it. So I understand the dilemma. It's a tough one. You know, we're fortunate to have a lot of good people that stock a lot, but it's certainly not every color. John, I empathize with you. I totally get it. And like I said, we knew that when we came out with the MapSeal T, and that's why we cut the case size in half. But it's only 4, but still, that's 3 more than you probably need on a backsplash, easily.
Yeah, it's just sad to see that you can go anywhere and get any kind of siliconized acrylic, you know, readily available. All the supply and distributors have those, but they don't stock the silicone. At least that's here in my area. It's probably different throughout the United States.
No, but, that's probably true.
So yeah, I mean, anywhere from 4 to 6 tubes is what I see in a box, and typically if I go to a Dow Tile or some type of distributor, I have to buy the entire box because they don't stock it and they don't want to stock it. So it's just, you know, it's just an ongoing thing, but it's just a challenge that is real, and that's what we face. If we have a change in color, or if we have a maybe an addition, it's very difficult to get the product. I mean, I don't mind planning ahead, don't get me wrong. The 3-week lead time, you know, to get the product, and sometimes you got to pay freight for it, but it's just, you know, it's just an example.
So John, that's a great example. And we recognize the same thing in Salt Lake. Everybody carries an acrylic caulking. But as far as silicone that they should be carrying, they don't. You plan 3 weeks ahead. I plan about 3 minutes ahead. So it's a challenge for us. So, okay, let's move on. Who wants to go next?
Jump on in. Let's call on Jeff Walker. Jeff?
You bet. Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is my first roundtable. My name's Jeff Walker. I work for MAPE. I've been with MAPE now about 12 years. Jim Whitfield is my boss, and he told me about these and thought it would be beneficial if more of us regional guys sat in on these meetings, which I agree with. So I'm glad to be here. I have a group of 6 guys under me in the Western United States. I am the Western Region Manager for those gentlemen. We are a tight-knit group, and we really love the industry. And, you know, speaking of the caulk issue, it kind of speaks to the fact that maybe we need to educate more people on movement joints and why we need those caulks in inventory. So maybe when we're out with sales, we can do a better job of doing that.
Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
And we do use the Mopacil, and it is not readily available. And it's been a consistent challenge for years. So, and it comes down to people use the wrong stuff for the wrong application because the correct stuff's not available. So it is an education thing. So,
where have you tried mostly? Contempo, Daltile? Where are you shopping?
They will stock it for us now, but
okay.
It's taken years.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Good to hear.
Randy Fleming.
I got a question. What's the shelf life, typical shelf life on silicone? So if a distributor's putting it out there, how long do they have to sit on it before it goes bad and now they're going to eat the cost?
Jim, is that 1 year or 2 years?
That's 1 year.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's 1 year. And depending on some of the colors, they could even go a little bit quicker if you really had a high pigment load, but I'm not aware of any of ours that have that issue. But potentially they could, I'll say that. And the same is true of siliconized acrylic. The only thing is they go through it quicker. What I like to call the designer caulks. They look good, they don't do anything. But they do look good, you have to admit. But same thing's true, you know. Hey, Dan. So unfortunately, it is a year as well.
Okay. Back to you, Stan. Anyone else want to jump in?
I'm not able to see everybody who's on here, so I can defer to you to keep calling on them.
All right, let's do that. I'm going to skip over to Sean Mitchum. You're the next person on my screen. Sean?
Hey, Sean, go ahead and correct me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Unmute yourself, Sean. Go ahead.
You're on mute.
We see your lips moving. There you go.
How you doing, William? Yes, this is the same thing as Jeff Walker. Jim is my direct supervisor, and same scenario. He let us know about these things, thought it might be beneficial. So just like Jeff, I'm happy to be here. I've been with MAPE for 15 years. Right now I manage the claims aspect of our department, and I'm looking for a good opportunity to network with you guys and learn what you guys are dealing with there, so it helps my job be a little bit easier to know the struggles that you all face. As far as the caulking thing, I've seen on Facebook on various groups where this similar topic has come up. I'm with Jim. The caulking is kind of difficult to get them to stock, but it's something we're constantly dialoguing, trying to make it easier to get them in there.
Well, we really do appreciate everything you're doing to try to help that out, because it is obviously an issue. Thanks, Sean. Glad you're here. I want to jump to a contractor attendee here, our friend Eric Allen, if I remember correctly, from Wyoming. Eric, how are things with you? Jump on in.
I have a different set of things because we don't have a distributor really in Casper. You know, it's big box stores or design centers. So we end up dealing with the design centers. So, you know, it's just availability of products still. And, you know, I had some tile that landed in a week, and, you know, all the materials landed in a week. Then it was 2 weeks for another job, 5 weeks for another job. And that, of course, all happened to be in the same week just because of when it was ordered. And so it's just, you know, and I mean, we knew it coming in, you know, that there was going to be supply chain issues, especially with, you know, some of the places in New York completely shutting down for 6 weeks. But, you know, I mean, like I said, it's just different out here because we have to have everything ordered.
Okay. Yeah, everything has got a lead time for you then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. Eric, tell us your company name and what city you're from.
Oh yeah, I'm Eric Allen, and I own Allen Custom Tile, and I'm in Casper, Wyoming, and I'm one of the ambassadors from Wyoming.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming today, Eric, and it's really great to see you. On my screen, yeah, on my screen, we were just talking about when we had dinner with you out in Denver a while back.
Yeah, for the Gates porcelain tile panels.
That's right. Yeah, great program. On my screen, Matt Newbold is right next to Eric Allen. And Matt Newbold, can you tell us a little bit of who you are and about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name is Matt Newbold. I'm with Elite Tile Setters also. So I work with Stan. We've worked together for about 15 years now. And my purpose for being here is similar to what John said, just to see what the challenges are with other parts of the country and with other contractors, and you know, hopefully to see if anybody has, you know, found viable solutions to those challenges. Tile availability for us is an issue, and you know, also, not to beat a dead horse, but yeah, the availability of silicone has been an issue. Even for those distributors that stock the material, there have been times when we've gone 2 weeks without, you know, being able to find a particular color or whatnot, which causes us problems. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say, and hopefully offer up some good information and insight, maybe to help everybody else in this meeting to you know, to make their life and their jobs a little bit easier as well. So
okay, so Matt, so here's where we're going to ask you we'll pick on you like we did John. Like, what are some of the challenges that you're facing that we could get help with? I mean, that, you know, not the silicone. We understand where that's at, and we don't, you know, that's an education thing. And I would chime in that our installers prefer acrylic because it's easier to deal with, and that's why distributors carry that, because people prefer the easy route. But yeah, what's a challenge that we could address here that is going to make us better at what we do?
You know, one that just came to mind is training, being able to train installers. You know, just a little bit of background. Stan and I have, you know, for years have conducted weekly training with all of our installers, and that would consist of anything from just a review on a particular product, bringing in a manufacturer's rep to, you know, give a longer presentation about installation of a specific material or, you know, waterproofing system, whatever it might be. And, you know, I think you would probably agree, Stan, we've seen a need to have that continuous training, but with the restrictions that are in place, it has made it very difficult to, you know, and basically, you know, we've stopped getting together for our weekly training meetings, and so essentially installers are just heading out to their job sites, and I would even take that a step further. In addition to that, just, we're still having trouble finding qualified installers, to cover the workload that we have with our regular builders, which has prevented us up to this point with really taking on any additional, work that maybe we normally would be able to take on.
So just to recap there's two challenges. One is we want to know how guys are training their employees during this pandemic. And the other is how are you finding employees qualified? They may not be qualified labor, but we're looking for good labor. And then we can qualify them. So does anybody have any thoughts on those couple things?
So how about I jump in and ask Dan Lambert if he can give us his thoughts on that. Dan, can you introduce yourself and describe a little bit of that conversation you and I had yesterday on that topic? I think you have some concerns there as well, right? Your mute button is there somewhere. You got your mute button.
There we go.
It is.
All right, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that's definitely a issue that we're experiencing as well. The way that we've been handling it is to train our people on site, just with specific tasks and so forth. For example, like, how to properly install silicone is a good one. Yeah, that's definitely a challenge is finding the qualified installers or people that are actually just, at a point where they are trainable. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a hardship, I think, for all of us. We are in Eagle, Colorado. So we service a lot of the high-end kind of third, fourth, fifth homeowner types. And yeah, it's more high-end residential is the majority of the work that we do. And yeah, it's definitely a challenge to find just the quality of person to be trainable. And yeah, but that's how we're doing it. We're doing it on site, on our jobs as we go. And we haven't really had too much of an issue recently because we just can't seem to find anybody that can afford to live up here. So yeah, it's a challenge for us for sure.
Anybody else want to jump in on that conversation? Training employees, how do you find employees that can be trained to become a tile installer? I'm going to go to on my screen between Jeff and Eric. Sir, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. You've got the hat. I know you. I apologize. Could you jump in and introduce yourself? You're shown as iPhone on our screen.
Oh, Tommy? Probably?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. My name is Ismael Hernandez. And then
Hi, Ismael. Glad you're here.
Thank you. That's my first time right here. So I'm from Salt Lake, but I live for Utah, but I live in Spanish for Utah. And I came from California. And then when I came here 3 years ago, I don't know anybody and nobody. And I decided to start my own company, if I call company, but I work by myself. And then my company name is Tile Master and Home Repair. So yeah, I've been doing this right here and for myself for like 2 years already. And I've been doing successful thanks the people, they don't doing the right job because the 90% right here in my area is fixed. All the job that I had fixed showers because all the leakage of the shower pan. So believe it or not, right here in my area, it's like 90% is fixed showers and And the other 10% is, of course, a little bus plus and things like that. But yeah, I'm here to observe information and then I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Ismail, I'm really glad you're here, and I want to tell everybody else, Rob and Randy know this, but Ismail does a terrific job using his NTCA member benefit of contacting us at the technical hotline. And
Yes.
yeah, and we're really glad to help you, and we're really glad you ask us questions. Rob, maybe you can talk about that a little bit, how that can help a person with some training.
I think, right. Yeah, I mean, I was a member for many years, and I thought that was definitely the greatest benefit. And no one should ever be afraid to call us, because that's our full-time job, is to take care of you guys and get, you know, good information. One of the things I do at my workshops, and maybe some of you guys have seen this, is I show a 2010 TCNA handbook, and that book has about 70 pages in it. And if you look at, you know, the 2020 book, 10 years later, you know, we got over 400 pages, almost 500 pages. And that's because we've got a lot of new products and a lot of new methods. And to stay current with that is difficult. So if you're an NTCA member and you have that benefit of being able to call us and ask questions, you need to use that benefit. That's what we're here for. I know personally, when I ran my own business, there would be times that I would be installing stuff, new tile that I'd never installed before in a different way. And it made me nervous because it was a considerable amount of money, and it was more money than I could, you know, really afford to lose. So once I became a member and getting good answers, started sleeping better. It's a great resource. If you're a member, you ought to use it. I guess that's all I have to say about it. But we're here for you guys. Never be afraid to call us. That's our full-time job.
Yeah, well, that's what I do, and too. And then a lot of times I'm explaining everything about MCs and tile concern North America build, and customers kind of don't believe it. And that's when I ask you guys. So I show, look, there's a professional people right here, and then yeah, and that's a great deal for me, because I've taught for people before in California. Now I know they don't know what they've been doing about joints, about installations. It is a good start right here. And then I just been came to certified tile installer too. I went like 4 months ago too, something like that. So yeah.
Okay, hey, Mael, thank you. That's very helpful. I think that actually answers one of Matt's questions. How does he find other people? He just comes here. I think he's actually driving down to Spanish Fork right now to meet you, to talk to you about working for us.
Yeah, if you could send me your address, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, good. That work.
Don't try calling him. He's busy.
Right.
But I don't want to get too far away from Dan Lambert, because Dan had some other questions that he wanted to talk about. I know he's talking about that one of Matt's, but Dan, can we come back to you? And you had some other questions.
Your mute button, Dan. Dan might be driving, and he's you're still on mute, Dan. There you go.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. I just had somebody pull up next to me. Reception's kind of spotty around here, so that's probably why it took me so long to get on. Now I got somebody else coming up here too.
Okay.
Hang on one second. God,
Dan, while you're maneuvering, Stan, while Dan's maneuvering, maybe I can ask Will White. Will was on our discussion yesterday, and this was a subject yesterday about a little bit about qualified labor and how do we find people to bring into the industry. Do you remember that, Will? Can you provide anything on this topic?
I do, and I think we all landed on the fact that we're going to go, work on the jails and the prisons for all the guys coming out that are being released from COVID. I think that's a great place to start. Totally kidding.
Yeah.
I think we've already done that.
Yeah, we've already gone through that. Yeah, it was a good discussion. It was mentioning on, hey, can we go into, junior highs or high schools? And I know we've all probably circled this wagon more than once, but that was a great idea because I know my kids I have one in high school still and my older one's out, but there's very little trade opportunity in high schools now, and not everybody's going to come out and go to college. So I was talking with Mark yesterday about if at some point we could pull multiple industry organizations together and maybe get the government, state involved, or feds to put together a tile program for the high schools. I know there are some already, but maybe a more concerted collective effort might prove to be the way, going forward. I know we've had this conversation for the last 5 years about, finding qualified labor, finding good people, just finding good people to be able to even train has been a challenge, and not just for the tile industry, it's been construction in general. So it's a big effort to tackle, and I don't think there's any magical answer, but I really think that we need to pull all the organizations together, all the flooring, the carpentry, the IMI, everybody together to pull together a comprehensive program that we could maybe roll out in, 8 or 10 metropolitans to try to get something going.
So Will, if I can jump in there, along with what you're saying, they're starting that in Utah. Some of the large builders have connected with the government. They said, we just need your hand in selecting students from high school. Other than that, we're going to run the program. So the schools hand select 2 or 3 from each high school that then get an internship for the summer. They start with 2 weeks. They learn how to read a tape measure and how to plug in and use some safety tools. From there, they hand select some companies that will take them on as interns. So this doesn't help anybody today. The idea is it's a long-term project that we're selecting the right students. I mean, students that are getting selected because they want to be in the trades. So it's something that started here. It requires funding, but it's going forward. So.
No, I agree, Stan, and you're right. It's not something that's going to be an immediate return, right? But it is something that sets up a long-term fulfillment in way of, them understanding the opportunities at a younger age. Because right now, if you were to poll most high school kids, I'm sure that construction or setting tiles, they have never even thought about it or heard about it or looked at it.
Well, other than those select few where maybe their parents are already industry or that's already what they're doing, and they know they're okay to go that route. They want to go that route. So let's hand select those and make something of them.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's one thing that was brought up by Lisa yesterday on the central call. She was talking about the legacy installers. You do it because your parents did it. So and that kind of came up in our conversation yesterday too.
That's right. Okay, let's get back to Dan. Dan, how can we, or Stan, let's get back to that discussion. Continue that.
Okay, sorry about that. Could you repeat the question?
Well, Dan, you have 2 questions for us that we wanted to talk about. One was fixing other people's work, and the other was your thin panel question.
Yeah, so the thin panel question, one of the things that we've been seeing pretty consistently is when we have small jobs consisting of 1 to 2 panels of GPTP, and it can be 3 mil or 8 mil, the likelihood of that arriving broken is extremely high. Most of the time, they do arrive broken, 1 or both panels. But when we have larger orders, we're not seeing any of those issues. I was kind of curious if the rest of the group has any similar experiences with that.
The question I would ask is when it's getting transported or moved, when it's 1 or 2 panels, guys are trying to get away with short forks on their forklift.
Yep, agreed.
And when it's a full order, they can't do that. So they'll use the proper tools, the long forklifts. Are you seeing them using shorter forklifts or trying to move it by hand or anything like that?
I'm not seeing any of the, most of the time I don't see the delivery before it gets to me. And it's usually broken by the time it gets to the final carrier. So it'll go LTL or it'll go train to LTL, and then it'll transfer way past us. It'll go to Denver, and then it'll go back past us to like.
I'm not catching all that. Is anybody else catching that?
Yeah, he's breaking up. He's
Same
losing
issue.
reception.
He's describing the transfer system, LTL to train and forklift to forklift. And by the time it gets to him, it's in at least 2 or more pieces.
And then it'll come
So,
So
you
if
know,
I
I
could
don't-
share, if I could share something,
ahead,
I've seen it several times, and I agree with Stan. Usually it's when the distributor's breaking up the
it's
shipment
just a
for smaller pieces. And then the other thing I've seen.
ridiculous
Dan, I'm trying to mute Dan, but he's unmutable.
He's unmutable. He's untouchable.
He is. He's.
Okay, I'm
There
gonna
we
send
go.
him a chat. You're breaking up. There we go.
I've got him muted now.
Just being over.
So, so it's not just that though. What I found is a lot of distributors are storing the A-frames outside, and the A-frames are strapped, and they're properly strapped, but the wood is swelling and contracting. And I've seen that on many occasions. So the midsection of the shipment on those panels stored outside is fine, but the outer panels and the inner panels have hairline stress fractures that you can't see in most cases. So they're moved, they're shipped, they're left on that A-frame and back stacked with other materials and then shipped out. And then when you go to grab them, you know, if you're smart enough, which I'm sure Dan is, you check them well before you put them onto a rack and take them off that A-frame. So I know that there are some companies that are now moving from wood to metal, which, you know, increases the cost. But that's the other piece I've seen in way of panels getting fractured and broken before they're ever installed.
And I'll also mention, I've certainly seen distributors.
Jim Whitfield.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I've seen
Go ahead,
distributors
Jim.
take the short forks of a long pallet and have the other end on a lift on the back of the truck and try and get that down. I mean, you can imagine when it's being transferred, they're not taking quite the amount of care that the tile distributor is. And what I see at the distributorship, no offense, is scary. So I definitely, I mean, if you don't have enough room to get underneath it in the middle and pick the whole thing up, you got a problem, and you got a high potential for fracturing. I was in Italy for a manufacturer when I was a product manager for Florida, helping bring in their gauge porcelain tile, and they would take big chunks of foam. I'm talking like big sharp pieces of foam and wrap the heck out of the pallets on top of that, so they made sure that nothing ever got stacked on top of it. Now, I mean, these things were 3 foot by 2 foot and sharp, and it wasn't for any reason other than just to make sure it didn't get double stacked, and you know, and those types of things. So you really have to take good care in how you handle these materials. They're extremely, the thicker they get, they can actually become more brittle as well. The thinner they are, generally they're fiberglass reinforced and some good flexibility and not such an issue. But the thicker they get, and you start talking about 8 or 12 millimeter, that should be a major concern. And obviously picking it up from the bottom, those forks going in the bottom of the pallet are a major concern. They would definitely will break. So It's unfortunate. I can imagine with just two pieces, the potential for an issue is very, very high compared to a full pallet and the weight of the pallet and the weight of the other materials on top of it. And they pack those with foam on the sides, on the top, but I'm sure they don't do as good of a job when it's a partial, especially if it's coming out of local distribution. It's unfortunate. I feel for them.
Yeah, I think Dan is back, and Dan, if go ahead, Dan. Let's try that again.
Yeah, I moved down another quarter mile. AT&T, less bars in more places. So
No doubt.
hopefully everybody can hear me now, and the reception will be a little better. Yeah.
I'm more curious, Dan. Did you hear those responses from Will?
I caught the last part, and yeah. No, we're using all the right handling materials and so forth, equipment, and usually before we get it, it's broken. So I agree with Will in the what kind of climatic things could be happening with the A-frames and how it's created and so forth at the distributor. That's totally logical. I'm just not aware of really what happens between once it's loaded up and put on a truck and sent to me or to whoever else. But a lot of times I meet the drivers and it's usually broken material when they receive it. And for some reason, they're still trying to, get it off their truck at my place. So that's kind of more the issue that I'm experiencing.
So Dan, the other thing is clamps. Make sure they're using the right clamps, right? If they're using clamps. That's another thing that can create stress because they grab it with the wrong clamp. It's a thin granite clamp or stone clamps. And when they lift it, the panel waves and torques. It needs to be the wide Abaco clamp. Yeah, that's another thing that could be happening as well.
Yeah, and that's just something where again, I'm not seeing how they're handling it from the distributor to the first truck that it goes on, but someplace between the distributor and the final truck that it comes on, it's usually broken. So.
Dan, why don't we move on to your other question you had? It sounded like Mael's kind of doing some of the same stuff of fixing other people's work.
Right. Yeah, that keeps me pretty busy with my inspection company, and it's really a unfortunate thing. But yeah, it keeps us pretty busy as well, just fixing other people's mistakes, and it is usually showers that we're seeing the failures. It's usually moisture creeping up the walls, bird bathing in shower floors and things of that nature. People not protecting their weep holes, not having consistent and uniform slope to the drains. Yeah, so it's all those issues.
Well, and if I understood your frustration is how come we can't get the guys to pay the correct price up front when they're willing to pay the correct price the second time?
Yeah. No, that's something that baffles me. I'm sure it baffles all y'all as well. I don't know how to fix that. If anybody's got any ideas, I'm open for suggestions.
Well, I have one thought for you, and that's patience. Matt and I, a few years ago, we lost one of our big builders to a design center. The design center said, they said, if you use us, you have to use our flooring company. It was a builder we felt we had a great relationship with. And a little ways into this, the builder called us and said, hey, we got, a shower that's failed, or we got this that has a problem. Will you come fix it? Well, our knee-jerk reaction was, screw you. You left us. Why should we fix their work? But we did it and continued to do it, and they continued to call us. it was about 6 months into this that they did away with the other flooring company, and we took back all the work. So I don't know if you're dealing with the same builders, the same, if it's something that work would eventually come back to you. I mean, people won't pay that triple price over and over again.
Right.
If they have any brains.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Dan,
Anybody
I
else have thoughts there?
meant to ask you, when you get those panels in, are they generally coming from distribution, or are they coming to you direct from the manufacturer?
Both. We've had the issue from Stone Peak, and we've had the issue with Ann Sachs, which carries Stone Peak and puts their name on it.
Yeah.
And then also through Crossville. So it's the issue is there, whether it's on an A-frame or on a flat pallet.
Gotcha. Well, I know a flat pallet, we show up many times to do a training, and they have brought the panels in, and it seems like whenever it's flat, wherever they set that, you see footprints across it. We've had many trainings that we had one training where we ended up with about a 3 foot by 3 foot piece of a full panel, because that's all we could salvage. And so I feel your pain, and I'm just wondering if we know where it's coming from, if we can get these guys to start maybe labeling the packaging better, and I would say whenever possible, get that product up on edge somewhere, and quit laying them down flat, because people walk across them. If they're out in a traffic area, it's just going to happen. And I mean, that's where I would start. If you get those in. I was also going to ask, when you do get them in and they're broken, and you call them and say, hey, I got a problem here, what have they done, if anything, to try to rectify those issues?
That's been kind of hit and miss. We had one that showed up, I think, 5 different times, and it was broken every single time. And that one was a real struggle with the manufacturer. And yeah, sometimes they're really easy to try to help out, and they'll return another shipment as soon as possible, and other times it's kind of a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they come labeled as fragile or keep?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know if it's the trucking companies, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because to get them to do things correctly is going to be a tough row to hoe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Stan,
You're muted, Randy.
do you feel that we had Randy, did you have something to add there, sir?
Yeah, he was just muted. I saw his lips moving.
Okay. We can't hear you even though you're unmuted. All right, not sure what's happening there. Okay. Can't hear you, Randy, so now you're muted again, now you're unmuted.
And how about now?
That's good, go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so question, Dan, what do you do with the delays on the project? Because that's got to add, weeks sometime to your project. How does that affect your deadlines?
Well, it screws them up really bad, and it causes us to kind of lose face a little bit with our clients, and it's been a little painful, honestly. Yeah, it's been a real big issue. So it's ugly, because it messes the schedules up. And it also puts a bad taste in people's mouth about the product. If they can't get it and get it in one piece, then they're probably not going to use it another time. So it's been really challenging. And I think that, you know, some of the labor issues that we've been seeing in our own industry, I think there's challenges on other industries as well. And trucking is one of those, where it's just tough to find the quality of person that's going to really take the care and read the instructions and so forth when it's you know, a specialty product such as the GTP. So
and do the manufacturers step up and help beyond material costs? Because sometimes if that keeps getting kicked, you have additional labor, you know, or you just get the material replaced.
Yeah, it's just been the material being replaced. And the one thing that we did was we arranged it with the manufacturer to just have it on one truck from the time it left their yard to the time it got to our warehouse, and then it was in one piece. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but that was on the fifth try. So so that was just ridiculous. But yeah, it's definitely made relationships tough. And as far as any other kind of compensation for time or anything like that, we haven't asked for anything and haven't been offered anything like that.
Can you toss out maybe a rough percentage of your work that you do with Gage Porcelain?
You know, it's not that much. I wish it was, because we've got all the tooling and qualified labor for it. But I'd say that we're probably under 10% of the work that we do is GPTP.
Okay.
And Dan, where do you feel your profit margins are on that versus the rest of your work? Would you prefer to have more of it as far as your profit margins go, including these delays with broken slabs?
Yeah, well, with the delays with broken slabs and the challenges that we've had there, that really puts a downer on it. But I would say that it varies. You know, it varies a bit depending on the job that we're doing. If it's a real cut up bathroom or shower, then, you know, it just takes more time, and time is money. So but then again, if we're just doing some full walls or something to that matter, then yeah, it's very profitable. I'd say probably around 40%. If it's a standard smooth job, we'll probably be making 40% gross.
I know more and more we're shying away from it. We got the tools, but the headaches that come with it, we like to do it. We know really well, and we've had more headaches with that than we're finding it's worth. We have a couple more, one big project coming up with this, and we're not excited about it. So,
can I ask you, Stan, what might be some of the headaches you're seeing? Some technical issues, or?
We only have we only have a couple of our crews that are trained on it, and they don't get excited about it. So that's one of our downfalls. So,
okay.
And right now, to get more people trained, I don't know that anybody's doing any training.
Well, that is a terrific topic. I've been speaking with Jim Whitfield and Will White and others regarding NTCA training and training that they're doing and training that we're able to get out and do together. And it is extremely complicated right now. We're talking about it on a daily and weekly basis, trying to get out there and do it safely as soon as we can. It's important. We get it, but it's hard. Can I ask you this? Can I pause on that? Can I just maybe go around the loop quickly? and ask all of you, would any of you travel and attend training with other people, maybe even outside of your own company, for a gauged porcelain training program or a substrate prep program? Maybe just a show of hands if you would feel comfortable being a trainer at or a attendee at a training program right now. And I'll tell you what, right now, I am not going to raise my hand.
I tell you what, Mark, why don't you put together a quick poll?
All right, go ahead and talk for a second, Will, while I do that.
So I'd be willing to go as long as it's in Colorado, because I believe the clean air in Colorado has a valuable impact on the current situation. I don't know about Jim. I saw Jim wanted to say something about it, so I think we should give him a second. But
Well, we're all the same. I think, we want to do them. I mean, my guys are biting at the bit to get out there. I can't explain how much they want to do it, and typically we're measuring those things. So, I know my guys want to get out there and do it. We are doing trainings outside, but they're all in customers' warehouses and things like that. We haven't gotten to the point where we're inviting people into our facilities yet, because of exposure to our own people outside of the training group, and that involves a good, I don't know. I mean, plus you're bringing 20 people in typically, and I'd say that the crowds would have to be half that. We'd have to. It takes a lot of different requirements to do that, and at this point, I'll say we are not there. I mean, we're just not there, and we look at it every month. We look at it. We were doing it by the week, and it's kind of got pushed out enough to say that. I told Mark, I said, I don't think if we can't agree on October in the next 3 to 4 weeks, then the year's done, because when you get into the holidays of November and December, I mean, you can have trainings here and there, but you're not going to have the types of trainings we had.
Correct.
It's just not going to happen. We would love nothing more. I can assure you that we thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, no, we're right there with you, Jim. Our team's chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
We're doing things here and there, out in warehouses with small groups, typically single companies, but I got a funny story for you. So got an inquiry on our training calendar online, and it was forwarded to me by our team. And the address read Sam Biondo at Mapei. So I don't know if anybody knows Sam. Sam's a great guy.
I know Sam reached out to you guys.
So Sam and I, we know each other from way back. We worked together, but I got a kick out of that. I thought that was so funny. So I called him up, and we had the same conversation relatively. What are you guys seeing? Where are you at? Everybody's chomping at the bit to get out there and get it done. And just as soon as it was tailing off, and we were looking at August, September, boom, kicks back up. So I think we're right there on pace with you, Jim. That as far as doing a larger scale event, I think it's going to be a challenge at this point, probably through the end of the year. But to even do a traveling smaller type program, I think that in the next 4 weeks it'll be the indicator.
Well, and Mark brought up a great point. Gauge porcelain tile, he used that specifically. And I think, surface prep is one thing, but gauge porcelain tile is going to take a small group of people together to make it happen. And
Absolutely.
I mean, when I say together, I'm talking 3 feet apart.
Yeah,
so
you can't socially distance when you're carrying a panel with a rack. Yeah.
No. So that really is cumbersome and unfortunate, because we know there's a need for it, and we know there's a demand for it, and as you've said, and I mean, our guys this is what they do. This is what they love to do, and so they really want to get out there and train and help and expand our market, help our sales guys, support our sales guys to get more market, and people like Dan with handling it and everything else, and unfortunately, like I said, that's. I totally get that with connections and so on, that's they're not going to handle it as well. They won't handle a bag of grout well, much less a panel. So I totally get that, but yeah, no, we're chomping at the bit, and if needed, if required by a job site or a contractor, we're there. And whether it takes 2-3 guys, we'll fly now. We have requirements for our people to fly, and we have requirements for PPE and so on. But they certainly can do it. I'm not opening up everything because, you know, with the way things are, we want to watch costs and everything else too. So it's just a tight balance, but we'll get there. I mean, I'm comfortable with where we're at today, and I would much rather change and be out there in October.
So Jim, we have actually a training the last week of this month.
I know that.
Ed and Mike are going to San Diego to do a Dow tile panoramic porcelain training. So it'll be interesting to hear, you know, how many people show up.
Well, I think that's what Mark was alluding to in the beginning is, are you going to attend? So I think that's a great point, Jeff. I mean, we can put on the trainings, but are we going to get support?
Right. They did one, you know, gosh, I think it was a month or so ago, or attempted to, and it was kind of a no-show. So, and not to mention, it sounds like the expectations for the whole COVID virus is that things are going to escalate come fall, you know, as we get into cold and flu season. So I think you're right. I think if things don't happen really quick, it's almost going to be done for the year.
Yeah.
So I have put together a quick one-question poll. I just want to mention that we are at the 1 hour in point, and I know all of you are very busy. And I do want to ask Stan if he wants to. Hi, Amber, I'll get to you in just a sec. Thanks for joining us. I know Stan has a great story I'd like him to tell us. I know he's busy, he's got to get to work, so I do want to respect everyone's time. Amber has walked away. I'll get back to Amber.
No, that light was just bright, so I just turned it off. It was like blinding. I had a question on what he said. He was coming to San Diego. I'm in San Diego, and so I would like to know if I could maybe go to that and watch and learn and find out some information about it. And then I also had a question, or maybe, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but since right now companies, you know, a lot of job sites are one trade at a time, and a lot of the companies, their guys are kind of used to working with each other and they have that comfort zone. And so I'm wondering if maybe instead of doing larger groups, maybe try to have smaller groups, which I know might be tougher because it's smaller, you know, but like if it was like one company and then, but just guys within that company. And it might be more geared towards the larger companies because they would have enough to have, you know, their guys there, but maybe make it more worth their while by not just having the training if it is GPTP, but then follow it up at that same time with the ACT certification. So even though it's less people, maybe it's worth their while because they're doing both, two parts to it, and with those people, and it's the same people that are used to maybe being around each other and so you're not introducing outside people into it. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm trying to figure out how to make it worthwhile. Like, if you can't have more people, can you have education and certification? Or, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside of the box of how to make it worth the time, because then you, as manufacturers, suppliers, then have certified people. And then if we can double it up with the certification, then maybe they're more willing to show up. Just an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Amber, and that is definitely one we are looking at and will continue to look at for everyone to know. Yeah, making it beneficial to make that trip for everybody to get there and what we're able to do. Absolutely. I want to go ahead and launch this poll. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Like I said, this is a one question poll on the question we've been discussing right now about whether you would be willing to attend a training program of some sort right now. I've tried to come up with some reasonable answers for you. I hope they fit for you. This is a anonymous poll. I'm not voting. I'm not allowed to vote on this. So we've got, looks like maybe just about everybody has voted.
So Mark, what you
Yes.
needed was you needed somewhere in the middle between a small group and a medium group. You need a
Well,
medium group where we can still distance.
I didn't get medium
Jim's,
group.
Jim's got the budget. We can get a big room, big area.
You know, that came up in the beginning of moving some trainings we had here, would move it to a hotel or a ballroom. And then of course, what happened is those, and I know I'm sure Will can appreciate this, it ended up getting canceled anyway. But, you know, we had all kinds of sales saying, well, we've got to have people in there because they're already committed and it's important. And then when it came down to it, they didn't want to come.
Well, that was it, right? So the contractors that we were talking with, you know, they became backstacked because of delays on job and distancing. And then they were overwhelmed because jobs were on top. So their crews were scattered. Their office people were working remotely, and, you know, just too many challenges to even try to get them together. It wasn't even a matter of being able to provide a safe place with proper PPE and distancing at that point. So
Lots and lots of moving parts and things to think about. So I'm ending the poll and sharing the poll, and I think you might be interested in the results. I'm sharing the results with you right now. I asked, would you be willing to attend or participate or be a trainer at a live, in-person, hands-on training program such as for gauged porcelain, tile and panels, substrate prep, etc.? 23% are, yeah, let's do it right now, ready to roll. 31%, no, not ready, not quite right. We still need to monitor the situation. 46%, our largest voting percentage, yes, with adequate PPE, social distancing strictly enforced with a small group only. Nobody said that they're ready to go right now with a big group. And as Will pointed out, I didn't add the option for a medium group. Didn't think about medium groups. So interesting. I think we're a little bit almost 50-50, maybe a little bit 60-40 when you look at between yes and no. Okay, great. Thank you for that information. And Stan, I do want to go back to you, and I would like to ask you if you could please, while we're on the subject of COVID, essentially, could you please tell everybody where you're at and what your news story is? I think it's fascinating, and maybe then you could give us your closing comments.
Well, and it'll come with a question, still on this poll. So I'm currently in Hawaii, in Maui, where we're doing a job. This is a job that was actually started in March, and then we left the island. It's taken a while to get back. And if anybody who's watching Hawaii, you can't travel to Hawaii right now without a 2-week quarantine. However, we got around that by coming as, what's the term? We got permission to come from the governor. However, in doing that, we still had a challenge in getting a place to stay for guys. And then we're only allowed to be at our place of residence or the job site. If we go outside of that, there's threat of a $5,000 fine and up to a year in jail. And Randy gave me some stats today that said I don't want to go to jail. It was a good thing he told me that, because I was trying to plan on a deep sea fishing trip. So, but you know, the question is, this is a job now, it's different. We bid it way back when. How do we change? We're going to incur more costs. It's just a different world now. These estimates that were given previously, is there any ability to go back and say, hey, yeah, it's a different world. Let's change some things. We at home have talked to our builders and said we want to be the only subs in these houses for residential houses. And they all said, great, that's fine. But it really doesn't work very often. We typically have other trades in there. We've had some scares where other trades have been tested positive. They've been with our guys. We've had one employee who's tested positive. And then we have probably the majority of our employees that flat out don't care and act like nothing is different, will not social distance, and will not wear a mask. So we're seeing it across the board. We're trying to be careful and not getting much help from our employees, the majority of our employees. So I don't know what anybody else is seeing as far as contract work. And, if we're all in this together, what does it really mean?
Yeah.
I think I lost everybody.
You there?
Yeah, Stan, that's a really interesting thing you bring up. We've had one employee that tested positive as well. Became very sensitive about it. When he did come back to work, didn't feel comfortable being on the job site. Kind of created a bit of drama and stress that wasn't really needed on the job site. Everybody else on the job site, all the other trades act like it doesn't exist, don't wear masks. And so basically we took and started putting him on other jobs by himself. I've lost a friend to the virus. I know it's real, but so much of this stuff has become political and who knows what's going on exactly. And it is evolving, and that's something I think everybody can agree on. But when it comes to contract work, I would maybe see if there's any fine print on pandemics or things out over and beyond our control and so forth. I know that when signing new contracts, it's pretty easy to cross things out and write COVID-19 on it and so forth. But for existing contracts, I don't know if you've dipped into reviewing that to see if there's any clause on that, but just a thought.
That's a good thought,
Hey,
Dan. I was
Stan?
going to say if there's any clause on state of emergency or acts of God or anything like that to help offset, or staging costs to, offset that, multiple trips that aren't initially bid into a project, downtime, things like that should apply to a given degree, or some accommodations should definitely be considered, I would think.
Hey, Stan?
Yep.
How about force majeure? Do you have that in your contract?
Do we have what?
Force majeure.
I hope I answered your question by saying, what is that?
Act of
Good looking
God.
statute.
It's act of God. It's delays are beyond your control. It should be in your contract.
And a lot of insurance policies. An act of God.
Yeah.
If you have relatives that die from COVID-19 and it's in their life insurance policy, the insurance company doesn't owe you anything. And if you have a contract on a job and you have that in there, there's a possibility that you can either walk from the job or get the job renegotiated.
Yep.
Yeah,
we've been, Stan, we've had 3 people test positive. They forced this job down. It had 14 people in quarantine at one time. So we had to invoke force majeure on one of our jobs. And they really couldn't do anything about it.
14, and so they were quarantined for 2 weeks?
They were all directly contacted by the superintendent who came down with it. So we ended up having 12 people in quarantine for 10 days. 2 people out for 14 days because they tested positive, and I still have a 3rd one out right now. I think we've done a total of about 30 tests. It's cost me about 15 grand so far, paying wages and testing.
Yeah, there's my worst nightmare right there. How are you dealing with it?
Well, we got the PPP loan, that's what it was meant for, basically, in case people get sick. But the schedules haven't changed. I mean, it's just a ridiculous nightmare right now. Arizona is one of the biggest hot spots in the country, and it's ridiculous. So what we're trying to do is rotate our crews out. We've taken our crews and half-sized them. Damages now because I'm not going to put 10 or 12. I mean, that's the only thing we can do right now.
Wow.
But I would look in your contract for force majeure because it's got to be in there on something like that.
Okay. Stan, terrific discussion. Did you want to continue that at all, or are we looking to wrap?
Yeah, I think we're looking to wrap. I think unless somebody else has something they want to talk about. I mean, we had great participation from people in every different arena. So hopefully somebody got what they came for.
I do want to thank
Stan,
everybody.
oh, sorry. Stan,
Go
if
ahead,
you could
Amber.
maybe follow up with me if you have additional questions, and we can maybe utilize some of the speakers we've had with the 5-star group before, and maybe just the group itself.
Okay.
If all of you could do one little favor for me, I want to take a screenshot photograph of our session here so that I can use this to promote future roundtables. And I'll go ahead and I'll give you the count of 3 and say cheese when the shutter is going to fall. And 1, 2, we've got John Mourelatos on. Terrific for that, John. So 3, here we go.
Cheese.
We'll wait for shot. Hey, cheese. All right, everybody looks terrific, especially Mark Albanetti. So thank you, everyone. I want to thank all of you, our manufacturers. We really appreciate you, our member contractors, everybody that's driving around in their vehicles and trying to find cell service, Ismail, Matt, Dan, all of you. John, thank you for being here. Amber, Randy, Rob, we really appreciate you. And Stan, thank you very much. We appreciate everything
Let's
you
be
do.
real, Mark. This is all you. Thank you very much.
Good job, guys.
We're looking forward to seeing everybody next time. We have more roundtables coming up. And I do have one more thing before we go. We are having more roundtables coming up starting next week. We will have some new promotions. It's going to be exciting. A new format. We're having a little bit of a contest going on, and it's going to be really cool. So all of you, go ahead and register for the July 22nd roundtable. Join us next week. We'd love to have you, and you're going to want to come at all of our roundtables afterwards. Starting in August, we'll have a new roundtable every 2 weeks. So Stan, we'll see you in about 6 months, okay?
Awesome, thank you.
All right, last thing, if you haven't done this yet, sign up for the NTCA's free opt-in texting program. We'll let you know when our programs are going to be with a simple text. Text NTCA to the number 31996. That's your reminder to know to register and join a roundtable or a virtual workshop where you can see Rob or Randy, or come out to a regional program and see Jeff Walker and the guys or whatever. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Good job.
Yeah.